so let's talk about this really powerful idea, Providence in the shadows. We're going to unpack it by looking at one of the most amazing comeback stories of all time, the story of a young guy named Joseph and his, well, very delayed dreams.
But first, let me ask you something. You ever get that sinking feeling? You know the one, where you feel like you've taken a disastrously wrong turn, and your life is just completely off track, a million miles from where you thought you'd be? Yeah, most of us have been there. Well, that exact feeling is right at the heart of this story we're diving into. It's about a young man named Joseph who didn't just have some vague hopes for his future. No, he had a vision, crystal clear, that he thought spelled out his entire life for him. And I mean, what a vision it was, right? He dreams that the sun, the moon, and 11 stars, which by the way represented his entire family, would one day bow down to him. This was more than just a dream. It felt like a prophecy, a glimpse of this incredible, powerful destiny.
So you'd think with a destiny like that, it's going to be a straight shot to the top, right? But that's not what happened. Not even close. His journey wasn't some clear ladder to success. It was a long, brutal, and what seemed like a totally pointless detour. Okay, so this is where the story takes a hard right turn into what we're calling the Great Detour. This is the part of the story where pretty much everything that could go wrong does. He goes from being the favorite son to a forgotten prisoner in a land that's not even his own. And man, the collapse is just swift and brutal. I mean, look at this. He starts at the top with this amazing dream, this peak of possibility. Then, bam, he's in a pit, thrown there by his own brothers. From there, he gets sold on the slave market. And just when you think it can't get any worse, he's falsely accused of a crime and tossed in a dungeon to just rot. This is the point where all hope really seems lost. And you have to ask yourself, how can a life that's gone so completely off the rails ever find its way back? It just feels impossible. But this, right here, is where we get to the core of it all, Providence in the shadows. See, the idea is that his purpose wasn't actually lost on that detour. It was being forged there, in the darkness, through the whole messy process. So what does that even mean, Providence in the shadows? Well, it's this idea that our most important training, our deepest character growth, it doesn't happen when life is easy. It happens in those really tough, confusing, even painful seasons. So let's just try to reframe this whole thing for a second. What if these weren't just a string of horrible random misfortunes? What if the so-called Great Detour was actually a highly specialized, totally unconventional training ground, designed just for him? Think of it like his own unseen curriculum. Okay, step one. As a slave in the house of a powerful official, he wasn't just doing chores. He was learning administration on a massive scale. Step two. When he's falsely accused, he learns what true integrity is under unbelievable pressure. And finally, in prison, he learns to use his gifts when no one is watching, when there's absolutely no reward. Every single disaster was actually a classroom. And all that training in the shadows, it all leads to the final act. The dream comes true. This is that moment where years of hidden, painful preparation finally collide with a world-changing opportunity. So fast forward, years, maybe even decades have passed. A devastating famine hits the entire region. And all of a sudden, the world doesn't need a teenage dreamer. It needs a brilliant administrator with rock-solid integrity who can interpret critical information. The world needs Joseph. And this is the payoff. Remember that dream from all those years ago? The sun, moon, and 11 stars will bow down to me? It sounded so arrogant back then. But now look at the reality. His 11 brothers are literally bowing down to him, not because he's a king, but because they're starving, and he's the one in charge of the food. His painful journey taught him how to manage. You know, Joseph himself sums up this whole incredible journey perfectly. When he finally tells his brothers who he is, he says, "What you intended for harm, God intended for good." The detour, the whole thing, it had a purpose all along. So, what are the big takeaways from all this? Well, first, detours aren't always dead ends. Sometimes they're the only path forward. Second, our most important skills are often forged in the fire, in adversity, not when everything is going great. And maybe most important, purpose isn't always waiting at the finish line. It can be hidden in the process itself. And that really just leaves us with one final thought, something to really chew on for our own lives. What detour are you on right now? What frustrating, confusing, or even painful situation might actually be your unconventional training ground? preparing you for a future that you can't even begin to see yet.